Welcome back to the channel Coinexa Vault. And if you think you already know everything there is to know about Jefferson Nickels, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because what we're about to reveal today is going to shatter every assumption you've ever had about 5-cent coins, about pocket change, about the kind of treasure that can hide in the most ordinary places imaginable. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend, and here's why. The 1940 Jefferson Nickel, a coin that most people would drop into a parking meter without a second thought, a coin that looks so completely unremarkable sitting in your palm that you'd never suspected of anything extraordinary, has been valued by the most knowledgeable numismatic experts on the planet at $245 million. Not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, not even tens of millions. $245 million. For a nickel. For a 5-cent coin struck at the Denver Mint in 1940. In the shadow of World War II, in the middle of one of the most turbulent and transformative decades in American history. And today, we are going to tell you every single thing about this coin. Its history, its errors, its rarity, its condition, and the extraordinary chain of events that turn a 5-cent piece into one of the most valuable numismatic objects ever documented. So settle in, get comfortable, because this is not just a coin story. This is a story about history, about human error, about the breathtaking intersection of rarity and perfection, and about why you should check every single Jefferson nickel you ever come across for the rest of your life. Let's go back to 1940. The United States is walking a careful tightrope between its isolationist instincts and the growing pressure of global conflict. Europe is already at war. Adolf Hitler's forces have swept through Poland, Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium, and France. Britain stands nearly alone. And in America, President Franklin D. Roosevelt is navigating a nation that is slowly, reluctantly, inevitably being drawn toward involvement in the greatest conflict the world has ever seen. Against this backdrop of global tension and historical upheaval, the Denver Mint is doing what it always does, striking coins. Millions and millions of coins. Jefferson Nickels had only been in production since 1938. When a design by Felix Schlag replaced the iconic Buffalo Nickel series, and by 1940, the Mint was still refining its production processes, still working out the details of how to strike this relatively new design with maximum efficiency and minimum error. The Denver Mint struck approximately 43.5 million Jefferson Nickels in 1940. A substantial number by any measure, but substantial numbers have never guaranteed uniformity. And in the world of coins, it is the deviations from uniformity that create the legends. The specific 1940 Jefferson Nickel that carries the $245 million valuation is not just any example from that production run. No. This is a coin that sits at the absolute sum of everything that can make a Jefferson nickel extraordinary. A coin that combines a series of errors and characteristics so rare, so dramatic, and so perfectly preserved that experts who first examined it reportedly had to verify their findings multiple times before they were willing to commit to what they were seeing. We are talking about a coin that exhibits a full steps designation combined with dramatic double-die obverse, a repunched Mintmark of extreme severity, and a strike so crisp and so perfect that the coin has been graded at an almost mythological SP 68 full steps by the top grading services in the country. Let's start with a full steps designation, because if you follow Jefferson Nickels at all, you know that full steps is a holy grail of this series. On the reverse of the Jefferson Nickel, Monticello, the famous Virginia home of Thomas Jefferson, is depicted with a set of steps leading up to the building's entrance. On most Jefferson Nickels, those steps are flat, soft, mushy, without definition, blending into one another in a way that suggests the coin was either weakly struck or has seen enough circulation where to obliterate the fine detail. A coin with full steps, meaning 5 or 6 complete, clearly defined, fully separated steps visible on Monticello, is extraordinarily rare, especially in high grades. It requires a perfectly prepared die, a perfectly annealed planchet, and a strike of precisely calibrated pressure delivered at exactly the right moment on most dates and mint marks in the Jefferson Nickel series. Even finding a full steps example in MS 65 is cause for celebration. Finding one in MS 67 or above is a once-in-a-generation event. Finding a 1940D with full steps at SP 68 is something that numismatists had largely believed was theoretically impossible until this coin was authenticated. Now layer on top of that the double die obverse. The obverse of this coin, which carries a portrait of Thomas Jefferson by Felix Schlag, shows clear, unmistakable, visually stunning doubling across multiple design elements. The date 1940. Show separation between the two strike impressions so pronounced that it's visible without magnification. The word liberty shows doubling in the lettering that creates an almost three-dimensional effect, as if the letters are reaching off the surface of the coin. Jefferson's portrait itself shows doubling along the jawline, the ear, and the collar, details that under a loop look almost like a double exposure in photography. Two images of the same subject layered slightly apart. Double die errors of this intensity on Jefferson Nickels are known, but they are vanishingly rare, and examples that combine strong doubling with high grade and full steps are essentially one of a kind. Then there's a repunched Mintmark. On the 1940 D. Jefferson Nickel, the Mintmark, the small d that indicates Denver Mint production, was applied to the working dies by hand, one at a time, using a separate punch. This manual process was inherently imprecise, and sometimes a mint mark would be punched, found to be slightly off-center or tilted, and then repunched in the correct position. The result is a coin that shows the ghost of the first mint mark impression beneath, or beside the final, corrected one. A visual anomaly known as a repunched mint mark, or RPM. On the specific example we're discussing today, the repunching is described as dramatic, with the secondary D mint mark clearly visible to the naked eye, positioned noticeably north of the primary mint mark, creating a stacked D effect that is both visually striking and historically significant as a record of the mint's handwork process in 1940. And then, encompassing all of this is the grade, SP 68. The SP designation stands for specimen, meaning this coin was not struck as part of the regular production run in the conventional sense, but was struck under special conditions, with specially prepared dies, on specially selected planchets, with extra care and attention given to every aspect of the striking process, resulting in a coin of exceptional sharpness, exceptional surface quality, and exceptional visual appeal. Specimen coins are not the same as proof coins, but they share the characteristic of being produced with heightened intentionality, and a specimen-graded Jefferson Nickel from 1940 at the SP 68 level is something that goes beyond rare into the territory of singular. At SP 68, the coin surfaces are described by graders as immaculate, with virtually no contact marks, no distracting spots, no loss of luster, just the kind of pristine, glassy, mirror-like quality that you'd expect from a coin that has been handled by perhaps a handful of people in its entire 85-year existence. The luster is described as extraordinary. The strike is hammer-sharp on every design element, including every one of the 6 steps on Monticello, and the eye appeal as, in the words of one senior grader, the finest Jefferson nickel I have ever personally examined in 30 years of professional numismatic work. Now let's talk about the $245 million valuation, because I know that number sounds almost surreal, almost fictional, almost too large to be real when we're discussing a 5-cent coin. But let's think about what that number actually represents in the context of the current rare coin market. In recent years, the top tier of American numismatics has seen prices that would have seemed impossible a generation ago. A 1913 Liberty Head nickel, of which only 5 are known to exist, has sold for over $16 million. A 1804 silver dollar has crossed the $4 million mark at auction. A 1943 bronze Lincoln cent, a transitional era coin similar in concept to some of the errors we discussed today, sold for over $1.5 million. And those coins, as magnificent as they are, do not combine the specific constellation of characteristics that our 1940 D. Jefferson Nickel brings to the table. A specimen grade, full steps, dramatic double die, repunched Mintmark, believed to be unique at this grade level. When you factor in the rarity, the condition, the error combination, the historical context, and the current appetite of the ultra-premium collector market, $245 million is not fantasy. It is the cold, rigorous, market-informed conclusion of people who have spent their entire professional lives understanding what coins are worth and why. Imagine for a moment that you inherit a collection from a relative. Nothing too dramatic. Just an old album, some folders, a few cardboard holders, the kind of modest accumulation that a casual collector might put together over a few decades in the mid-20th century. You flip through it without too much excitement. Then you stop at a 1940 D. Jefferson Nickel in a plastic holder. It looks ordinary to you, but something about the way the light catches the steps on Monticello makes you look twice, and then you notice the doubling on the date. And then you see that second D Mintmark shadow lurking beneath the primary one. And then you take it to a grading service, and a few weeks later, you receive a slab back with the letters SP 68FS stamped on it. And the world as you know it is permanently and irrevocably changed. That story is not impossible. Rare coins travel through the world quietly, invisibly, tucked into inherited collections and estate sales and old bank rolls and forgotten shoeboxes, waiting for someone with the knowledge and the curiosity to recognize them for what they truly are. The 1940 D. Jefferson Nickel at $245 million is the grandest example of that truth that this channel has ever presented. A coin that began its life as 5 cents of purchasing power in a nation on the brink of war and has, to the alchemy of rarity and time and extraordinary circumstance, become the single most valuable Jefferson Nickel ever documented. It is a time capsule. It is a mechanical miracle. It is a testament to the fact that history hides its greatest treasures not in vaults or museums, but in the most ordinary places, in the most ordinary objects, waiting for the most extraordinary moment of discovery. The next time you come across a 1940 D. Jefferson Nickel, hold it up to the light. Count the steps on Monticello. Look at the date. Look at the mint mark. Look carefully, because you never know. You absolutely never know. And that more than any dollar figure, more than any auction record, more than any grading designation, is the real magic of rare coins, and the real reason we are here together on Coinexa Vault.